don't know what the next step is with something like this, but if I lower my gun, we didn't hurt you, so you don't hurt us. Right?
That's right.
It's a weird fucking tone, man.
That's just the way he sounds. He has an asshole voice. Joe, tell him he's okay.
Everything is great.
Dude.
Fuck.
All right, episode 5. Let's get into our deep dive. Max, how we feeling?
Feeling great, man. How are you, man?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks again to our Patreon producer, Knight Rider 169. You're an amazing human being. You want to start us off, Max? I think you got some...
Yeah, we got a segment. Before we dive into this episode, we got our Easter egg housekeeping segment, which is actually sponsored by Tess and Joel Rat Jerky. Ever been hungry during a zombie apocalypse? Well, Tess and Joel's Exotic City Rat Jerky is just the fix you need. Cured to perfection with the flavors of exotic cities such as Boston, Kansas City, and New York. It's just what you need during this harsh times. So look out for them wherever zombies are present. That would be a great sponsor to have. Yeah. So if you ever want to sponsor one of our segments, this was obviously a nice example of one.
Yeah.
This, feel free to contact us at info@rotyourbrainmedia.com.
Yeah.
So that's
pretty. I'd eat that jerky.
The New York jerky would be extra large.
I like it. You didn't even tell me you were doing that. You just sprung.
Yeah, I wanted to see your natural reaction to that wonderful sponsor. But now to the housekeeping.
All right.
So, we talked about why the episode was called "Please Hold to My Hand." So one of our great supporters, I call her the video game aficionado for The Last of Us. Blondie Sheep, Aaron at Blondie Sheep. Definitely worth a follow. She posts a lot of great stuff on The Last of Us video games. I think she's playing it for like the umpteenth time. So she always has great things. And I know you're playing it too.
Yeah.
So she let us know that is actually a line from a Hank Williams song called "Alone and Forsaken" that Joel and Ellie play in the car. And the actual full line is, "Oh Lord, if you hear me, please hold to my hand. Oh, please understand."
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that Mark didn't get that one.
Yeah. So it's an old Hank Williams song.
Okay.
We talked about food, especially with Bill. So, and I ended up going back, and she also mentioned that he was planting. There's a scene in the montage where he pulls out the carrot.
Yeah.
And
I went back and I watched that.
Me too. I saw that too, and I was like, oh yeah. Also, in the game, when we're talking about infecting animals, in the game, the fireflies infect monkeys with cordyceps to study the fungus growth, but the monkeys don't turn into infected creatures. There was also early designs of dogs that were infected by Naughty Dog, but they never went past the early stages.
Test phase. Probably too Resident Evil. That's a big Resident Evil thing,
too Resident Evil. So they never made it to the game. So that's still a thing. Like maybe it's really only in humans. The animals are not, really infected. There's a couple of nice Easter eggs in this episode. Do you want to go through those? I only have like 2 so far.
Throw them out right now.
At the end, the backpack that Ellie drops and Sam picks up, which was Sam's backpack, is actually the same backpack from the game.
Oh, okay.
That brown backpack. So when you see him walking away, it's the same backpack. And then the other Easter egg that I wanted to really talk about on Sunday, we mentioned it, but you have a lot more information on it because you're replaying these kind of scenes after the game, and that's Ish, which is actually in the game. Joel, when they go into the underground community, he sees a picture that a kid drew of Ish, the Protector, or something like that.
It's Danny and Ish, the Protectors. Yeah,
the Protectors.
Yeah.
So that's pulled directly from the game.
Right.
But in the game, there's a far more there's backstory, and I'll let you fill everybody in on that one.
Yeah. So in the game, I mean, I'll do this as fast as possible.
Yeah.
But in the game, once Joel and Ellie, they jump off the bridge. They jump off of a bridge from Pittsburgh, and they end up on shore where Sam and Henry kind of save them. And they decide that they're going to go through the sewers to get to their destination in the game, which is a radio tower, to meet up with Henry and Sam's crew. But before then, on the shore, Joel and Ellie find a ship, and on the ship, there's a note on the ship, and it says from Ish.
Yeah.
He describes how he's been out to sea for X amount of time. I can't remember what it was. And he's decided he's got to come to shore now and figure out what's been happening with life, because when I guess the outbreak happened, he jumped on his boat and took off. And so now he comes back because the boat's deteriorating. He is shipwrecked on the shore, and you then find another place in the sewers where he's kind of held, like he's been kind of hiding out, living. He found a place to live and stuff. And he's kind of, another note says what he's been doing, how he's met with people, and they're all trying to kill him. There's another note where he met these people that he can actually trade with, and then he's going to try to be friends with them. And then once you actually get into the underground community, you find other notes from him where I think he's got it sounds like, or implying that he's in a relationship with somebody, that he's now a part of this community.
Yeah.
And then there's another room where I believe it's Danny that's in the room. I'm not 100% sure. I could probably go back and fine tune this later on another episode, where he writes the thing that says, if there's infected out front, I'm held in here with the kids.
Yeah.
If it comes to it, I'll make sure they don't suffer. And then you see a body or a blanket with a bunch of kids underneath it. And so it looks like Danny had to kill them because he didn't want them to suffer and get infected and stuff. And then fast forward, you find another note from Ish outside after you go through this entire part in the game where he does survive with someone else. And that's the last note that I found of his.
I wonder if they're going to keep pushing, have more Ish Easter eggs in coming episodes.
I wouldn't think so. I think this is going to be self-contained. I think just because they only showed that one thing, because also even this community, because in the game, it's a pretty big community that you see. It's a decent part. Like you see where they're living, like where their food supply is, showers, bathrooms, like you see like the whole thing. Where in this show, you only see this one little small area.
Yeah, they
you don't really see anything else.
They didn't go explore. What else was
which is
down
kind
there.
of disappointing because it's such a big part in the game. But I just throw that out there really fast. If I missed anything, feel free to message us. But
thank you, Blondie Sheep, for some of the great tidbits there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. I had one more thing that I made a mistake on. I think in the episode I said that you don't find out that Sam is deaf until they're in the attic. I was wrong. You actually see that Sam's deaf in the very first scene of the episode when Sam and Henry are hiding. Henry's speaking to him in sign language.
Yeah.
So I made a mistake on that. I want to throw that out that I made a mistake there.
So let's now deep dive right into the episode.
Yeah, well, we got a couple
of scenes.
Yeah,
right?
we got a couple of scenes we want to pull. So the opening scene, which we already listened to, which is Henry talking to Joel and Ellie when Joel gets woken up.
Yeah.
Henry just kind of saying like this, I'm kind of new at this, but I haven't killed you, so I'm gonna lower my weapon. We're gonna be all cool. And Joel has like his demeanor, his voice.
Tough guy.
This tough guy voice, and Ellie just kind of says, "No, it's just how he talks. Everyone's just got to be chill." I just thought that was a fun way to kind of open the show because it's going to be so focused on obviously these two pairs, and them getting out of Kansas City, and then ultimately what happens at the end. So we are now hitting spoiler alerts as far as what happens in the show.
Yes.
So if you've not watched this show, but you're listening to the podcast for the first time, you should probably stop and go watch the show because now we're going to really dive into a bunch of couple key scenes. All right, so one of the first scenes I want to talk about is Kathleen talking to her prisoners, really.
Yeah.
The collaborators. So I just want to pull this scene and we'll talk about it.
Perry, I used to be so scared of these people. Now look at them. Did it feel good? Betraying your neighbors to Fedra? Watching us get thrown in prison? Watching us hang? So that you could get medicine, alcohol, fucking apples? Did it make you feel better? Did it make you feel safe? How does it make you feel now?
Little bit of tude.
Oh,
and that very
she's
end
pissed.
line. How does it make you feel now?
Yeah. Well, we learned that, Tess had spent like that one night or one day in Fedra lockup when they thought she was staying. So it's not only that they always execute and hang, sometimes they imprison, and she mentions that
Sure.
imprisons people for, specific period of time. I'm sure it can't be for too long. I think it's probably a short period of time or hanging. There's no like in between. There's no way to support like.
Are you talking about in Kansas City or in Fedra?
Fedra in general.
Well,
you can't like house somebody like, yo, you're going to do 20 years for whatever, because that's mouths to feed and
Right.
and things to take care of. It's literally like, I'm assuming it's like there's a weak punishment here or hanging.
Yeah, if you go past a certain time. Yeah.
It's straight. It's death penalty.
Yeah. Well, obviously Kansas City was more, it seems like it was the
More,
most corrupt out of all of Fedra. If, Fedra is actually corrupt everywhere else. I don't think we actually know that for sure in Boston if they're corrupt, except for the guy who's trading
Well,
with Joel. So
I don't
maybe
know if
we
it's
do.
maybe corrupt is the wrong word. Harsh. Because even Joel mentioned in this, that he doesn't deal with collaborators. So obviously there's collaborators in the Boston one.
Right,
And
yeah.
we witnessed them hanging people in Boston.
Right.
So I think all of them have to deal with people. It's an extreme form of martial law. I don't know if you want to call it corruption. Maybe, raping and abusing food rations, because that was part of the problem the rapings and maybe not feeding people or giving the right rations and things like that.
Yeah.
That could be corrupt, but their methods are more harsh than corrupt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I view Fedra.
Yeah.
In the show.
An overall show or just in
In
Kansas
this show.
City?
In this show
okay.
overall, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't think Joel mentions Kansas City he heard Kansas City was pretty bad.
Which is kind of like then why are you going to Kansas City?
Yeah, why are you driving into Kansas City?
You tell me there wasn't a route to go around Kansas City?
Yeah,
are you that big of a hurry?
Oh, I know, right? so I expect. I'm surprised it was Kansas City. Like I would think places in, not to make offend anybody, but like a Fedra in Texas, I would assume would be really, really harsh, or anywhere in the deep South would be kind of rough.
Sure.
New York probably would be extreme, but I'm expecting New York to be full of. There's no way to contain New York outside of nuking it, because so many people are
stacked on top of each other. Yeah.
There's no way to survive or build any kind of QC zone there. But keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the reason why I pulled this take from Kathleen is it sets up obviously the episode.
Yeah.
But the way that she delivers this whole scene, like she's very vindictive. It seems like throughout this entire episode, she just has one thing on her mind, which is get Henry. And this leads into us seeing how she does not care about anybody else really, except for her ultimate goal, which is to get back at Henry. And there's something that I'm going to bring up later on, which is like the time where I feel that her brother died, and for like the time spanning between her brother dying and then when this revolution actually happened, I feel like it was a long time, and I'll bring that up later. But if it was a long time, she's definitely holding on to this to a point where it's like, I want to get Henry for sure. But she could have, if she had this whole group put together as far as like her, I guess, her revolution, her, her rebels, uprising and stuff. Why weren't these people picked off before? Or like, if your goal is just to get to Henry from the very beginning, how could you have not gotten to Henry prior to this? You know what I mean? So were all these guys in a safe zone because they were ratting on people? So that's why her people couldn't get to them to find out where Henry was? Or it was just, I feel like it was like thinking of this scene later on, it seems kind of awkward, but then also it shows.
The way I look at it, I see what you're saying. I kind of agree with her. I think part of it is probably, she probably finally got that motivation once the brother died to kind of like, let's overthrow Fedra, let's get all the collaborators.
Right.
Right. So to do that, you don't do it like half pregnant. You got to do it all in like one fell swoop, because this scene is that night when the full overthrowing is happening.
No,
right?
I get that.
So I'm assuming there was a period of time where finding out who
Right.
is all, like, we're confirming that these people, because she mentioned in that scene, we're going to have a trial. Y'all going to be found guilty. So there's really no need for a trial. So that means they've done their research. They know these people are all collaborators.
Right.
Henry's the one that gave up my brother. So that probably that day when everybody's like, we're going to overthrow Fedra at dawn, X amount of soldiers go to each of these people's houses, pull them. You know, they couldn't get Henry for whatever reason. And that's probably why she's so pissed off. Where is Henry? Because they didn't get him that first time. But there's definitely probably a lead up of planning beforehand to have this, to do an uprising. There's a lot of coordinating.
I get that.
I get do that.
Okay, guess what I'm trying to say is when we were talking about like the Fireflies and what their main mission was, which was they want democracy. They want to, be able to elect their leaders and whatever the case was, maybe not such a harsh rule for people that, go out or whatever. That is not the case here. This is a pure vengeance from the very beginning. Yeah. This isn't like, we did this uprising because we didn't believe in what these people were doing or how they were like holding together our society. We're going to kill everybody, and I want to start with Henry and all these collaborators, right? Yeah. Well, obviously they already killed all the Fedra. So I guess they didn't start this. They killed Fedra. They get all the collaborators because she really wants Henry. Out of everybody, that's who she wants is Henry.
That's
so it's kind of like, how did you not get to him maybe beforehand?
Yeah, like a vengeance piece, like individually, like catch him and just do vengeance on her own. But she maybe looked at it as a bigger picture. Like maybe she's, using Perry and the rest of the military guys and say, hey, I want Henry. I could go get Henry. There he is across the street. But let's do a greater good and overthrow Fedra and get Henry.
She doesn't seem like the kind of person.
Nah, I know. And she doesn't.
But
I'm just
the reason why I'm talking about all this, because when I talk about like how much time is passed when I pull this other scene when I show you, it's going to make you kind of think, well, yeah, it seems like it's been a while, but we'll get it back into that. All right, so here's our next scene, and I love this scene. This is when Henry actually, very short, but he describes what happened in Kansas City. Yeah, and this is kind of for Max, for you, because I loved your point on why they went all brutal. Oh, and this kind of like backs that up.
Yeah.
Welcome to Killer City.
No, Fedra.
No, that's 10 days ago, no.
You always heard Casey Fedra was...
Monsters, savages. Yeah, you heard right. Raped and tortured and murdered people for 20 years. Hey, you know what happens when you do that to people? The moment they get a chance, they do it right back to you.
Yep, right back to you. That's what we talked about on Sunday.
Yeah.
Revolutions, uprisings are as brutal as who was doing... who was in power,
right?
If the person in power is a little more, respectable or nice, obviously there probably wouldn't be a uprising.
I guess fair.
Fair. There wouldn't be an uprising, or it'll be a little bit more diplomacy. But when you're brutal to get to the point where you have your everyday person who has no military training willing to take up arms and do the stuff that we saw in that opening scene, you had to been extremely brutal. Like, you could think of any slave uprising in the U.S. or in the Caribbean. I'm Haitian, so 1804, that uprising, of the slaves, first independent black nation in the Western Hemisphere. Right. That uprising was brutal. Like, if you go and look in history, what they did to the French to get them out, a lot of decapitations, a lot of rough things, but because that's what they were doing to the slaves. And, that anger you can think of, from, in that scene, you saw soccer moms going crazy. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So you could think of the anger and the hate that they had for these Fedra people who had families themselves as well. I mean, they're burning people and it's cheering and it's just extremely violent. So Kansas City was pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, because the only thing that we saw so far was what happened in Boston. And what we speculated in Boston, why people were being hung and stuff, was because they were, going at maybe outside the walls when they weren't supposed to, bringing back in the virus, or like the potential for bringing back in the virus, sneaking in, those kind of things. But we never got any word. At least I don't remember anything as far as that extra brutal thing, because he mentions like rape and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that was anything going on over in the Boston part. So they're already hanging people over there for the other stuff.
Yeah.
So you already see an uprising happening just because of that. So then,
that rape stuff is the abuse of power.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Some of those soldiers probably like, hey, we're Fedra. We are the end all be all judge, jury, executioner. So, hey, I want to get a little action. I'm going to get a little action. I want to take your provisions because, they're obviously.
Like, what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do? Exactly. Right. What are you going to do? Who are you going to tell? Who are you going to complain to? Right. So I'm sure Kansas City wasn't the only one in this universe, in this show. But people will take advantage of their power in any setting. So,
So it just.
It's rough. It's the apocalypse.
You can see why all the people, I mean, we know why Kathleen is going crazy right now as far as her vengeance for Henry, but it shows why everybody else was on board as far as, let's kill everybody brutally, drag them down the street, whatever the case is, because we've, I guess, been tortured for X amount of years and finally enough was enough.
Yeah, it's been enough.
All right, so let's move on to our next scene. So this scene is when Henry tells Joel why Kathleen is after him.
Yeah.
All right, so let's listen to this.
The Great Hunt.
I wasn't exactly telling you the truth before about me not killing someone. There was a man, a great man. He's never afraid, never selfish. And he's always forgiving. Have you ever met someone like that? Kind of man you'd follow anywhere. I mean, I wanted to. I would have. Yeah, but Sam, he got sick. Leukemia. Yeah. Anyway, there was one drug that worked, and, whoa, big shock. There wasn't much left of it, and it belonged to Fedra. And if I wanted some, I was gonna take something big. So I gave them something big. That one great man. The leader of the resistance movement in Kansas City. And Kathleen's brother.
Yeah. So in the beginning of the podcast, this episode, I talked about the time in between
this uprising.
The uprising when Henry, I guess, turned in Kathleen's brother. So he talks about the reason why he turned in Kathleen's brother was because he needed the drug for leukemia.
Yeah.
So his brother looks pretty healthy right now.
Yeah, looks pretty good shape.
Looks like he's in good shape. So I'm assuming that he got really sick, and that's how they discovered that he had leukemia. Mm-hmm. So he had to get this drug in order to feel better. So it's not like I feel like it's not like he just turned in Kathleen's brother 2 weeks ago, and then the uprising happened a week later, and he's been on the hunt for Henry for a while. It seems like that happened a ways back, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and here's a little twist. Sam's sick. The doctor is Elsie, who is a hidden contributor. What do you call it? Not contributor.
He's an informant. He's a
snitch.
A collaborator.
A collaborator. I want to use the term they're using. It's from where I'm from. He's a snitch, right? He's snitching.
Right.
So, do you think Edelstein convinced Henry, hey, you want this medicine? Your brother's dying.
Ooh.
Fedra has it. Fedra can give it to you, but you got to give them the leader of the resistance. Does this snitch Edelstein? Because look, they have a good relationship. They're hiding together out in this episode, right? The three of them, right? Did he? And because he convinced Henry to snitch, he feels kind of like entitled to helping these guys. Because now that Kathleen is hunting all the collaborators, like maybe that's why he's helping them. Do you think he's the one that led him down the path to, hey, you want this drug? I know how you can get it.
I would think absolutely.
Like I'm just putting those things together, right? In terms of the show, something they won't show you on camera, but
right. I'm curious what this miracle drug actually is to fight leukemia 20 years later. after because when
it's 2003 when
2003
everything
when
shut down.
Yeah.
So 20 years later, that's a definitely a good point. But yeah, it must have been, how long does it take to?
I don't know. We probably should have looked that up before I started going down this path. I didn't really think about it until earlier today, but it seems like a decent amount of time had passed since Henry had been turned in. Now, he could have turned Henry in, and Henry was just locked up for a long time, being beaten and stuff. Because she doesn't, or we never find out.
Michael, you mean?
I'm sorry,
Henry.
Michael, the brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because she does mention visiting him.
Yeah,
and saying the last time I visited him, so he knows it was Henry, and I'm sure he knows it was Henry, but she does visit him, and she asks him for forgiveness. So. It probably was a little while.
You're jumping scenes, man. We haven't even got to that scene yet.
No, but
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Here you go. Let's ultimate conspiracy. Ready?
Go ahead.
We're just gonna do this really fast because I'm.
That's what this episode's for.
Now the wheels are turning. Sam's not actually that sick. So think about it. Edelstein has already been collaborating with.
Oh man, he's a scumbag if he does this. I know where you're going.
So maybe he's just like a normal, he just checks up on the kids ever so often, and he gives us, here's some vitamins, pills, or whatever.
Placebo.
He gets him feeling a little sick. He comes in, let's do some tests. I found out that your brother has leukemia. Here's these magical pills that I got from Jack and the Beanstalk. I can save him, but I can't give them to you right now because they're watching me. We have to give him something. So if you go and turn in Michael, I can get you these drugs. And then here's your magical drugs, which is really does nothing. You just ended up getting better because whatever I was giving you prior to that. I was saying there's a lot of ways they could have went with that.
They could have. That would have been.
But since the plan backfired, maybe because they were thinking, if we take out the leader of the resistance will fall. Well, it turns out now we just gave them a reason to really fight.
Yes.
And Edelstein's like, oh crap, I lost my safe zone. So Henry, you're on the run now too. Yeah. Maybe we should team up here because I need someone to help me hide.
But Edelstein's definitely has his hands are dirty in this.
I think so. I do think so.
It's connected. It's too close. Yeah. He's the doctor.
He's the puppet master.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And he was
totally
the best.
Sense.
He was the best snitch because not even Kathleen had him on her list when they went to round up everybody. Yeah. Wow. So I could see that. Yeah. I just pulled that up when you were talking about it.
Did you look up how long they think, or did the showrunners come out and say how long time had passed since Michael had been imprisoned?
No.
Died?
I didn't even look that up, but they didn't mention that in anything I saw. I mean, they obviously held him. They probably wouldn't have executed a leader that quick because even though they know he's the leader, but they probably want to get all the information about the resistance. Who's his number two? Where are they camped? Where are they hiding at? Where's their weapon cache? Where's, how are they doing this? So you're taking out the leader, but you want to know the whole operation so you can really go to town. And he probably is sitting in jail. It could have been a while if he doesn't want to inform them on who his lieutenants and who else is involved in there.
Right.
Because he was obviously, because if they knew it was, or maybe they didn't know it was Michael. Maybe Henry was like, I know the leader, the dark leader. His name is really Michael, whatever. He lives over there on Bleecker Street.
Bleecker Street.
No, seriously. It could have been a while. In my opinion, it could have been a while.
Yeah,
I don't think it was a quick, arrest and then hang the next day.
Right.
He was jailed. There a lot of questioning, probably a lot of torture, because Kathleen mentioned when they were in the last episode in the container with the doctor, it's like where my brother was beaten. So they were beating him for information.
Right.
So
yeah.
He probably was held in there for a little while. And then once they exhausted, like, okay, we can't beat this guy anymore. He's not giving us any information. Now we execute him. And all while this is all going on, Kathleen is taking up, taking on the mantle of the leader and creating the real revolution,
right? The
real uprising. What are you looking up over there?
I'm looking to see if anyone's got a theory on how long her brother was in prison for.
Oh, I'm sure they'll dig it up.
I found a fan Wikipedia
based on their thinking. Well, I'm saying, from my logic, I'm saying it's a little wild.
If anybody else finds it and you're listening to this episode,
they'll
send us a message because I'm curious if they've actually if they touched upon that.
Yeah,
Because
maybe
to give
in
us
an
more of a
interview or something.
timeline on how long Kathleen has been stewing on killing Henry.
I'm saying it's a little while. I'm telling you, because if you're gonna beat for questioning, you're gonna probably starvation. You're gonna do sensory deprivation, all kinds of tactics to get your information. And he's not giving you the information, and he has enough time to think about, contemplate and try to convince her, like, don't be revenged. The next scene we're gonna play. I think it's a little while, not like years, but maybe.
But do you think Michael died right before the revolution, right before they took over?
Yeah, I would say.
So he was in prison for a long time.
Yep.
And then he finally died, and that's when everybody went, all right, let's go take Fedra.
Yeah, I think there was probably a buildup, right? And then once they finally killed, that's when it was like, okay, that's the last straw. Everybody now has the nerve. They got their beer muscles to let's do this. And they said, here's the date, dawn. We're going to do, because you're going to plan out properly, with Perry's military help.
Perry.
Plan out a coup that
I think it's the same day. If you think about it. What would make
right there?
What would make sense or the
no
next
planning,
day.
just raw, just unorganized.
Maybe
it had to be a little organized. They wrestled up all those people.
What I'm saying is maybe they were already organized. This is why I think Henry lasted as long as he did.
Mm-hmm.
She maybe agreed to her brother not to kill Henry, and so she doesn't want to kill Henry while her brother's still alive.
Gotcha.
Okay? But everything else is in motion as far as taking over for Fedra, right? So, or maybe the brother dies, and then the next day or that day is when they execute their plan.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
And then Henry's already on the run because he sees all this stuff happening.
It could have been the same day. You know why I like your theory?
But then maybe if it was the same day, they maybe would have mentioned it, or you would have, maybe she had a scene where she's over the body, or because she doesn't even know if this is the same cell that maybe her brother died in. She's like, it could have been a cell. It was a cell like this.
It was a cell like this or something like that, she was saying.
Or she wasn't sure.
No, she just said it was a cell like this, not this, but it was like this.
Okay, yeah.
No, I could see your theory of it being that same day, because you could see it like they hang him and it's like now the uprising is like raw, and on the spur of the moment, it's like, collaborator, start grabbing them up right now,
and none of them
right in the scene, right in the moment.
And none of them that are actually imprisoned while she's talking to him, no one's saying like, I wasn't a collaborator.
Oh, they knew what they were.
They were just like, yeah, you got us.
Yeah, some of them were beaten. You could tell they had some bruises, and they were just But interesting,
right? Well, since we're talking about this, let's go to the conversation that Kathleen has with Perry in her childhood bedroom.
Yeah.
Let's listen.
He would be horrified by the things I've done. And if you've come to tell me that Michael wouldn't want me to hurt Henry, that he would want me to forgive, I know that too. He told me. The last time I saw him alive, in jail, he told me to forgive. And what did he get for that? Where is the justice in that? What is the point of that?
Your brother was a great man. We all loved him. But he didn't change anything. You did.
That's deep.
That is. I mean, I think we've talked about it before. Michael sounds like he was maybe more diplomatic, or maybe, I don't know if he was to say he was negotiating with Fedra, but maybe he was more of
they said like more like Martin Luther King.
Maybe more like Martin Luther King, not physical violence, right? And also, I think maybe he was more of I don't want to say like a preacher, but maybe, handing out pamphlets, calling out Fedra for what they're doing wrong, and getting people like, yeah, we need to do something, but never physically do it. Until Kathleen came around and said, and Michael's death probably spurred the action part of the words, because it sounds like Michael was great at talking, because Henry says a kind of guy you would basically run through a wall for.
Right.
That means, he's probably giving great speeches in someone's basement or whatever, and getting people like really inspirational.
Right.
But they're not going to go and physically do anything. That's what it sounds like.
Right. They probably would if he asked them to, but maybe that was just like his thing, was like, that was his, felt that was the best way for change, was less violence, because they already had violence on their end, which in a way, his death probably ignited the revolution that Kathleen took charge of.
The reins of, yeah. I totally agree. And he's I don't want to call him soft, but he seems like the way they describe him is like a great man. He's a caring guy. He's going to forgive.
Right.
So I don't know if the revolution that we saw in the beginning, where what they were doing, they mentioned he wouldn't sign up for that. He probably thought that probably would happen, and because of that, he doesn't have the nerves, or you want to call it balls, whatever you want to call it. He didn't have it in him. He didn't have the dog in him to like release the revolution the way it should have been, or would have been released. I'll say.
Yeah. This, like, I want a spinoff show. I really do, because I want to know what happened.
In Kansas
so
City,
I have
right?
the name of the show. It's called QC in the KC.
QC in the KC.
QC in the KC, and it could be like a 4-5 part miniseries.
Yeah.
And like 4-part, and then each part is like 5 years.
Okay.
So you got the first 5 years in part 1.
Yeah.
Or like episode 1, next 5 years, episode 2. So you can see the corruption of Fedra in Kansas City, and then you can see like the rise of Kathleen's brother, and then Kathleen, and then you can see like the stuff that Henry does, and like all the people, like why they're turning on Fedra, because they want apples and medicine, stuff like that. I mean, I'd watch that show, because you already know what the end's going to be. It'd be like Star Wars Rogue One. Like, everyone's going to, that people, they're all dying, because they're not in anything else. They have to die. They're all going to die, but let's see how we got to that point.
And if it's on HBO and they make it like the Lannisters in Game of Thrones, where you really hate the people who are in power, it could work. Or the name also QC and KC.
QC and the KC.
It sounds like a 1960s 70s R&B band.
That's the backing music. That's
like that rivaled the Temptations or something.
Right. That's the soundtrack throughout the whole show.
No. Actually, the concept is pretty, because I would have loved to have seen how, we kind of have an idea it was bad from the beginning scene, but it would have been cool to see that.
It would have, and it'd be like the ultimate soft open for the show. Because I love the idea of starting out giving me a flashback, even though we did get a flashback, but it was only 10 days.
10 days, yeah.
I want to see the development of this, because it's a huge, to get from that point to the revolution and to having such vengeance for a kid, really.
Yeah.
How old do you think Henry is? Like early 20s?
Early 20s, right? And
have that much hatred for him.
Yeah.
Even though that the reason why he did that was because his brother was going to die unless he got medicine.
Yeah. And if you think about it even deeper, it's like, it's a kid raising a kid. He doesn't mention anything about their parents in the show, right? And it's like, if he's in his early 20s, it's a kid. It's, his parents probably made it out for them to be able to have Sam. But between Sam, how old does Sam look like? He's like 7, 8?
He's
maybe
definitely
even
under 10.
younger?
I think he's definitely under 10.
Under 10.
Yeah.
So that means their parents passed away.
In the game, I think he might be the same age as Ellie, because Ellie in the game, I think, is 13 or 14 years old.
Okay.
Maybe 12, but they're very close. They're very close in age.
So
maybe a little bit
means,
younger, because he still wants like toys and stuff, and she steals him a toy in the game. And
but in the show, so if he's that young, that means the parents made it out of the initial wave and passed away at some point under Fedra's watch, and that maybe is why Henry probably was joining the resistance and being so close to Michael. There's a lot of backstories that you could have had to fill in.
So think about this, all right? So we already touched on how it's possible that the doctor kind of manipulated the situation in order to kill Michael, right?
Yeah.
The brother. So what if this?
Conspiracy.
Let's go even farther than this. So Henry knows that he needs this medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Michael's in charge of the resistance movement, or what the uprising, whatever we're calling it right now, because it's very still. It's a soft open, I guess what we could say, because no violence is happening because it's against this thing. So he goes to Michael and says, "Hey, Michael, I need this drug for my brother, right? We need to go get this drug, like, because we have the numbers, we can break in, we can get it." And Michael says, "No, the best way to do this is, diplomatically, still, use our words, not violence." So maybe that's the turning point. So then Henry goes back to the doctor and says, "Okay,
Let's do this.
I'll give him to you."
You could have really made, what was that movie that came out on, it came out on HBO Max during the pandemic. It was
Wonder Woman.
Not Wonder Woman. It was Judas and the Black Messiah. It was the Fred Hampton story, right? Fred Hampton was a rising member in the Illinois chapter of the Black Panthers, and the FBI had an informant that they used to get into his organization and basically led to his assassination. So the snitch was played by a great actor. What's that guy? Lakeith Stanfield.
Who's that?
He was in the Knives Out. Remember Knives Out? He was he was a black detective in Knives Out. Skinny guy. Let me think. What else is he in? That you saw that? Did you watch the Harder They Fall on HBO on Netflix? The cowboy movie with Idris Elba. He was in that.
No, that's on my list.
Let
I
me
haven't
pull
seen
up
it
a
yet,
picture of him. That guy. You seen him? He's in a lot of different things. He's a really good actor.
Okay.
Anyway, but he played the snitch Bill O'Neill, and it was seeing, how the FBI recruited him and how he found his way to get next to, Fred Hampton, and end up leading to the betrayal. He's one of the biggest betrayals and snitches, right? Kind of thing. And Henry is playing a similar role in that. So
maybe
it would have been a great story if you see that part of it. Yeah, because it's interesting to see somebody betray somebody who you obviously admire and care about, and that's why they called it Judas and the Black Messiah, because Judas betrayed Jesus. So it's very interesting.
Okay, I get it. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So Henry basically betrayed Kansas City's Jesus and Michael. So there's a lot of correlations with all of this.
At least in our speculation, it is.
In our speculation, in our
HBO pitch.
What's that term? Tinfoil conspiracy hats. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Earth is flat and stuff.
It is.
Okay. It
is.
And there's a big hole in Antarctica that goes into a lost civilization, right?
Speaking of a big hole, so hold on. So before that's a good segue to our next scene.
There you go.
So speaking of the big hole, so before the hole opens up, and all of the infected and the bloater pop out, the conversation between Henry and Kathleen. I pulled that. I want to listen to this really fast. Let's listen to this.
I'll come out. Just let the kids go.
No. Sorry. The girl is with the man who killed Brian, and Sam... Well, Sam's with you.
You don't understand.
But I do. I know why you did what you did. But did you ever stop to think that maybe he was supposed to die?
He's just a fucking kid.
Well, kids die, Henry. They die all the time. You think the whole world revolves around him? That he's worth everything? Well, this is what happens when you fuck with fate.
That's funny, though, because she says, did you ever think that he was supposed to die?
Mm-hmm.
Well, going back to our theory, does Kathleen ever think that maybe her brother was supposed to die in order for the revolution to actually happen?
That's an excellent point, bro. That's real right there. Yeah, because both of them are coming from a point of view of they love their brothers, and they're not thinking of they're really looking at just that. Her love for her brother makes it, that line that she says, like what you just said, is like, yeah, my brother maybe your brother was supposed to die for this revolution to happen.
Oh, I wish. I mean,
And
kind of wish
vice
Henry would have
versa.
said that.
And
yeah.
and
then
and
all
same
of
thing
her,
with Henry.
Then all of her people behind it goes, well, yeah, we weren't doing anything until he died.
Yeah. No, but
If our theory is true.
I like that theory. The other thing I pulled from this is, before anything serious, Kathleen, I don't want to hear any other backstory, was a kindergarten teacher. I mean, the way she, she's delivering this really cold and harsh, like she's about to kill kids. And she mentioned in the bedroom with Perry, her brother would be mortified by the stuff she's done.
Right.
I'm sure she's done a lot worse than what we saw in the show. If you do a full backstory kind of thing, because the way her mind is right now and just singular on vengeance, she's killing kids. She doesn't care.
She's gone full Anakin.
Yeah, she wants to punish Ellie for Joel killing, Brian and whatever the other guy's name was.
I still want there to
Ben, whatever
be.
his
So,
name is.
how old do you think she is?
Kathleen?
Mid 40s,
Yeah.
late 40s.
Yeah.
Okay, so pandemic happened. She's in her mid 20s, right?
Mhm.
So
She's
maybe
in a
she's
rough
finishing
world.
up college or something. Maybe she's
Yeah.
something. Maybe it's because we see that sweet rose in her from Two and a Half Men. And then also like herself as a person, she always kind of seemed like, whenever there's an interview with her and stuff like that, she always kind of seems like a sweet person. So maybe we just always envisioned her
Like
It's
a
easy-
soccer mom.
it's
She
easy-
looks like a
it-
soccer mom talking really sweet, ready to kill people.
Yeah, but obviously she's never had any kids because I think that would probably come up maybe in a
Yes.
conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. What do you think she was? Maybe. Ooh, let's get crazy here for a second.
Yeah.
Maybe. So stupid. Maybe Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait,
Okay.
no. Frank and
Bill?
yeah, maybe Bill. Bill was a cook in a restaurant, and she was like the hostess.
I'm telling you,
At
this kindergarten
some point-
teacher. She's a teacher, or I don't know, because the way her delivery is, like, it's like she's talking to a child.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
I see her like she ran Kansas City's daycare or something, and now she's full on psycho vengeance.
No, I agree.
It's very interesting that they both were looking at it from that point of view. Like their brothers are everything. And I like the line she says where she's like, "Do you think he deserves pretty much everything? Right? Like
Right.
anything. Anything goes to keep Sam alive."
Right.
My other thing is with Kathleen, I give her credit for, really inspiring change, like tangible change in Kansas City in terms of getting Fedra out. But I give her a huge 0 F minus for what happened after. This is like 11 days, 12 days later. And in terms of setting up any kind of structure outside of securing the perimeter, they haven't done anything. It doesn't look like it's her vengeance, her blind vengeance.
It's her hatred. Yeah.
Yeah, has led to poor leadership. And then Perry, who, I don't want to offend anybody in the military. Half my family's in the military, right? That soldier blind loyalty and, following orders
Absolutely.
is horrible.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she, even in that bedroom, she's like, we're with you to hunt Henry down. Forget everything else. When they see the ground bulging in that apartment, in that house,
Right.
like he's just going to go along with it. And that's why he gets his head ripped off.
Yeah. At some point, some delegation should have been done right there where it's just like, look, I still need to find Henry, but I understand that the floor is pulsating right
Yeah.
now with most likely a bunch of infected down there. So maybe have some guard guys down here or
Yeah,
something.
just lock
or
the door.
maybe we should, now that we've, I guess, cut our numbers down. Because I mean, it's not, I guarantee you in that revolution, it's not only Fedra that died. It's not only that the snitches that are died. I guarantee you some of their people died as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be time now that you see that the floor is pulsating and I'm assuming that Henry's not the only one that heard the stories that the infected got pushed underground.
Yes.
So they know that there's a bunch of infected down there. Maybe we should caravan somewhere else. Maybe we should, put a blockade thing here. Maybe we should start building some bombs and throw them down there. Something else instead of trying to get this one kid, or have everybody else do that. And I can take 5 people and go find you know, something should have happened there
Yeah.
for sure. That's definitely bad
And
leadership.
I don't expect them to build a utopia in 10, 11, 12 days, but it seems like they were just really just hunting Henry down like that whole time. Like,
I mean, yeah, that's what they were doing.
Like, even when they were looking out the window, it was just like they were on patrol, just like a Fedra would do, looking for
they
the
were the new
doctor
Fedra,
and-
yeah.
They were the new Fedra. They ousted them, and it was obviously short lived because her poor leadership led to, you know, Perry dying. All of Kansas City is pretty much shot.
Most
now.
likely, yeah. That's
It's
a
done.
lot. That's a lot of
That's
infected
really
people
bad
came out.
leadership.
Yeah.
Really bad leadership. And it serves her right to getting mauled by that kid. She wanted to kill kids, so a kid infected, you know, just MMA'd her. It was like nonstop. She deserved what she got.
So speaking of kids,
Yeah.
really fast. So I think I got a message in here from Meliska916.
Mhm.
So she pointed out that, let me just look at this thing really fast so I don't say it wrong. You had mentioned in the last episode that Joel was contemplating when he saw the bridge to kind
Yeah.
of bail on the kids.
I'm
really,
assuming, yeah,
even
right?
more, I'm including Henry in the kids part because Joel's what, 56
Yeah.
or something?
Just looked at it.
Yeah. So
Maybe I should run.
Melissa said that she thought that Joel was looking at the bridge thinking that the kid didn't lie to him. That no, the bridge is there. That's where they could get away. Like they could have gotten away that easily. She saw it as that, not that Joel was contemplating
I'm
ditching
out.
Ellie.
I don't know, because
That's kind of a weird place to all of a sudden now decide to ditch Ellie. He could have ditched Ellie while she was
there's
sleeping
drama
at night.
behind him. There's a ton of drama now. Like one man versus that army.
I'm with Melissa on this. I don't think that he was going to
But
bail
when
right there.
Henry brought him around and he was bragging about, like, why would he not have believed him? He got him through the tunnels. The tunnels was one. Boom. That's true. Then the town that was like right there.
Right.
And then Henry starts really pumping his chest, like, see, I told you. Once we get past this street right here,
If
it's the bridge.
anything, maybe he was contemplating to going back and getting the other three,
and just
and then just
leaving.
going across the bridge instead of. I mean, think about it. Did he really have to go and kill the sniper guy? Because obviously the sniper wasn't shooting very well. You couldn't aim worth a shit.
I don't know.
You could have went back and got the other three and probably made it across the bridge, and everybody survives.
I think he had a normal human, like, it's fight or flight in these kind of situations. That was his flight. He chose to fight. Okay, I think that's a natural human reaction. Like, there is salvation right there. There's a sniper. He didn't even know the other people are coming. He just knows about the sniper at this point, right? So
Right.
it's like
Which is another reason
it's
why
like,
just go over the bridge.
he should have just taken them all and be like,
Yeah.
this guy sucks. Let's just,
Yeah.
we could probably crawl away and he'll
Coulda
miss
totally,
us,
right?
But I think he gets there and it's just, he notices the bridge. It's natural fight or flight. Oh, look, sniper there, bridge there. Let me go take care of, let me go take care of the sniper. That's how I interpret it. Because I don't see him like, oh, he doesn't need to give Henry any more credit because Henry's been right all the way down, from the very beginning.
All right.
But that's a good interpretation.
I still think he should have went back.
He shouldn't have left them. They all should have went. The guy, what did he say? He was like 10 yards away on that first shot.
It was far away.
Think about it. The first shot, if you're any way halfway decent as a sniper, you're killing one of them because they have no idea there's
They're
a
not
shot.
even moving.
They're walking.
Yeah.
They're literally walking. And they're
Towards
coming
you.
towards you.
Yeah.
Right? And he missed them by like 10 yards.
Yeah. That's your
Horrible
first clue.
sniper.
Is like, this guy can't aim.
Let's just
walk
walk
around him.
Yeah.
It'll be totally fine. No one else is coming. No one knows we're here. They would have been the smart move.
It's good that they did what he did because if they had just walked around, the guy already had called Kathleen.
Sure.
Kathleen went over the freaking bridge and left Kansas City to get them. Like, her vengeance would have crossed borders. She's not saying, oh, let's not go hunt them down in whatever woods or whatever is past that bridge.
Right.
She would have gotten them wherever they went.
So in the game,
vengeance is,
in the game, when they're in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
they do end up at a bridge while they're being chased
Yep.
by. It might actually. I'm trying to remember where. I know that they're still being chased by the militia people that are actually in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But it might also been infected as well, or maybe it might have just been infected at the time. No, it was still the guys. I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, at a point, Joel and Ellie jump off the bridge. They jump off of a bridge and then they go downstream, and then that's where Sam and
Henry
they find them and pull them ashore. So if you're thinking about like if you stayed true to the game in that, even though it was whatever, they could have just jumped off the bridge and went down the river. The Kansas City River
still went after them.
Because she's such
vengeance.
Such a hell bent.
She was
school teacher.
She was not gonna.
You're gonna get this grade up. I'm telling you right now.
She wanted to put a bullet in Henry's head more than anything in the world.
Right. All right.
And sacrificed her life for it.
Yeah. Well, she does. She sacrificed her life. So there's no more Kansas City. Yeah. And then we're going to transition all the way to now Joel and Ellie and Henry and Sam. They all think that they're safe, not Sam.
I wish we would be able to play that dialogue Sam and Ellie have in the motel room.
I mean, I could play it. You could just read. You can read off it. I'll read off of it.
Oh, you want to play?
No, I don't want to do that.
But it's very powerful, and they're doing it all in the I had said it right earlier. Etch a sketch.
And
that it was a nice. It was good dialogue.
It was.
Even though it was written.
Yeah.
It was pretty solid in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's like, once again, we'll talk about differences in the game, which I think I hit on the last episode. That Ellie doesn't know that Sam's infected during that entire, because there is a point. There is a point where when they're in the same room together and they're having a conversation, and Sam's kind of asking her if she thinks that there's any of the old people still in the infected. Like, is there a soul still in there and stuff like that? And Ellie kind of just says, no, once you're gone kind of thing. And then she just leaves the room. Okay, you have a good night. And then, they go their separate ways. And then in the show, she, obviously Sam shows her the bite in the leg. And then she makes the choice to cut herself and put her blood onto it, thinking that her blood could possibly save him. And I still think that could have been
an interesting path they took, right?
Yeah, if they would have went that path, because obviously, I mean, no spoilers for anybody for how this actually goes down later on, but that's, not really how it works in the game with her, I guess her immunity. So I just thought that you got to see her choice right then and there, like what she would have done, as opposed to, in the game she didn't know. So she decides to stay in the room with him in the show, even though he could turn or not. Her intentions weren't to fall asleep. She's going to stay up all night with him, but she stays in the room. Either that's confidence that her blood is that powerful that it would actually save him, or it's just her arrogance, or just her naive.
No, I think it's more compassion that she doesn't want to leave him alone
while he's transitioning.
It's funny if he transitions, because he's scared. Right. He doesn't know. They both don't know what's going to be the outcome. She's hoping and she's assuming that her blood can save him.
Right.
But her compassion is like, I'll stay with you no matter what.
Well, just remember Tess and Joel when they found out that Ellie was infected.
Yeah.
And Tess going, Joel, like their first thoughts were, we got to kill her. She falls asleep in front of him. They're sitting there with he's got his M16. Yep. They're staring at her, waiting for her to wake up, and not even letting her get anywhere close to them. Totally freaked out.
Fear.
And the only reason why they didn't kill her really was, got to get the battery, got to get the truck, got to get to my brother, that kind of thing. That was their motivation. With her, pure compassion, what you're saying, and then I still think there's probably a little bit of hope, arrogance, maybe, some kind of is my blood that super powerful kind of thing. It's interesting to look at two characters that they've seen the world go from, I guess we could say, good before the apocalypse and everything. Joel and Tess, and their way of handling that situation, so on the edge of their seat, going, "Holy shit! This girl's gonna turn."
So shook.
But her, who's been born in that world.
Yeah.
Still choosing to kind of stay in the room with someone like that.
Well, she feels bulletproof too, and she's young.
Sure,
when you're young, you think you're invincible.
Oh man,
you don't wake up with knee issues, right?
I got back issues now.
No, it's my knee, man.
I got my sleep number. That's it's like inflating on me at night. It's deflating, so it's supposed to be at a 90, and then all of a sudden it's at a 40 when I wake up. It's not good. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Let me ask you this, not to go too deep into this, because
Well, we're deep, man.
it can go into so many ways here. This what I'm going to bring up here.
QC in the KC. Go.
When the conversation Sam is having with Ellie about is the people in there, forget the science. How do you view that when they're infected with the fungus and the cordyceps?
I've seen enough of my fair share of zombie apocalyptic TV shows and movies. It's kind of been my thing that I've always loved watching those.
Yeah.
In order for me to actually enjoy those movies, I have to be okay with the fact that the person that was there is not there anymore. I just have to be.
Interesting. See, in The Walking Dead, as soon as you die, you become a zombie.
Right.
This one's different though with the fungus.
So you're thinking the consciousness could be still in there fighting against
because
the fungi.
the way the fungus works is it's manipulating your brain,
right,
to the point in real life it could even give you hallucinations. So you're technically in there. It's not to go crazy. You know how some people say when they have a loved one who drinks or takes drugs, they're not themselves because the substance is changing, whether it's their personality or how they act and things like that. So you can view these fungus similarly, just permanently in that sense, where, the person is in there. It's just the fungus is dictating everything.
Or, well, there's no AA meeting for the fungus.
No, definitely not.
Or, let me ask you this then. So when someone, man, this is getting too deep.
I told you.
When someone is brain dead,
yes,
do you think that they're still there?
No.
Then that's the way you need to look at it. The fungus have destroyed the function of the brain.
Yeah.
The 40% of whatever we use.
It's not destroyed.
Well,
it's
taken over. It's really taken over to a point that
but it's not dead. The brain is not dead because they're still, the fungus is controlling the body. It's controlling, their actions.
Sure.
If the brain was dead, they would just lay on the ground and the fungus would just spawn off of them.
I think the fungus goes in and kills that part of the brain
that
doesn't kill that person.
Manipulates it, moves it. So, it's a very thing. Like, I don't want to get into the soul side, but from the brain side,
sure,
the brain is still intact because that's how the fungus.
No, I get you. Yeah.
That's the body's going to regulate its heat, everything, right? For the fungus to survive, it needs the brain, so it's not killing the brain off. So is the person technically in there? Or how do you, it's very...
In order for me to enjoy the show, I'm going to have to say, no, the person's not in there.
And if it was in real life, for you to be able to kill an infected, you have to view it from that point of view as well. That this person is gone. There's no surgery. There's no AA meetings, like you said, right?
Well, even
to get them out.
Right. But then also at the same time, there is no cure for something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
So even if someone is actually in there, it's now to the point of survival. It's like you have no choice. Even if there's someone in there and they're sitting there banging out the door, it's
what's that movie?
I just saw
the Jordan Peele thing? A Sunken Place. What was that? Get Out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're falling.
Yeah, I love that fucking movie.
Yeah. You're not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. A middle-aged white guy's taking over your body, but this time it's a fungus.
I don't know. I just saw a clip of some movie and it's super bizarre. I'll give you I guess it's kind of be relevant to what we're talking about.
Ahead.
We've gone everywhere else. Let's just go over here. It's a couple and the wife gets hit by a car.
Yeah.
And so her body is not functional anymore, but the consciousness is still in the brain.
Yeah. You talking about Severance?
It's kind of, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know the name of the movie. I just saw the clip of this. And this weird doctor comes in and says, we can take her consciousness out and we can put her consciousness in your brain. And she'll be sharing the space with you. She won't have any control.
Oh, hell
but
no,
she'll
I'm not
still
doing
be in your
that.
brain. You can hear her speak to you. She'll see every single thing you're doing. She'll have the same sensations, blah, 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 whatever. She'll be in that part of your brain that you're not working, or that you're not using. Okay, so he takes her, puts her in the brain, and then all of a sudden she's in there. She's seeing him look at a girl. She's judging how he disciplines their kid because he's not there. She's not there anymore. So, but he has a pause button. So he can pause her. So she's like, she's like kind of turned off.
Yeah.
So he pauses her and then turns her back on like 2 months later, and she doesn't even know it's been 2 months. It's like, it got really weird.
Wow.
So like, all right, I've seen enough of this. So, but she's sitting there going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" Like looking out of his eyes.
It's like is this some Black Mirror thing? I mean,
I don't know.
It
what
sounds like an episode of Black Mirror.
It might have been. I never seen
I
Black
love
Mirror.
my wife, but I'm not doing that, man.
It might have been.
I'll put her in an Alexa. You know, my wife can go inside an Alexa.
The clip kind of ends with him putting her into a teddy bear.
There you go. See, that works.
All right, we're going way out of control. But yeah, I mean, even if it's to the point where the conscious person's sitting in there going, "What's going, blah blah blah, whatever," I would at least think that the conscious person in there is seeing these things happen. If it got to that point where they could actually see, like, if they,
we don't know.
We don't know.
That would be messed up.
Like, hopefully they're still sitting there going, dude, I've ripped apart like 20, 30 people right now. I've seen my share just end this completely.
Yeah, it's like
but thanks for putting this in my head.
It's a horrible prison though, if you think about it like that. Like, and you can't check out. You can try to, kill yourself, but the fungus is not going to let you kill yourself. Like in terms of like mentally, you know how they say people give up the will to live.
Sure.
Even if you give up your will.
Poor Padme.
Yeah, exactly. Gave up the will. She doesn't have the will to fight.
Luke, Leia. There's nothing wrong with her. She just doesn't have the will to live anymore.
There it is. Can you imagine that? You're seeing all these people, you're killing your loved ones, and you can't do anything about it.
And this has been Deep Thoughts with Max Levy. Thank you very much for this conversation.
The rest of your day, huh?
Okay, I think we've gone deep enough into this show.
Well, one more segment.
Oh, we got another segment.
We have a segment that hopefully will be sponsored soon.
Mm-hmm.
Our weekly, it's Wednesday, so now we're a little behind Wednesday, but our weekly Ellie meter, which will be sponsored by, for today, Tess and Joel's Rat Jerky. But anyway, let's move on. Ellie this was a very solid episode for Ellie's character and Bella Ramsey.
Right.
And this week, she's had a lot of controversy with her pushback, with some of the pushback fans have been giving in social media about the character and the path the character is going to take, especially from the people who played the video games and know what's the outcome.
Let's give an ultimate spoiler alert
here. No.
Are we going to talk about that?
Okay. No, we're not.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of backlash with Bella Ramsey and the character Ellie, and we've talked about it pretty much every week. I ask you this: where is Ellie now on your Ellie meter? And
she didn't go down. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is out of the 4 episodes, this is the most tolerable she's been for me.
Ooh, tolerable.
Tolerable. And maybe that's even a little harsh. She had her moments where I enjoyed her deliveries on certain things, especially at the end with her and Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, throughout the whole show, actually, between her and Sam.
Yeah.
The scenes that's just them kind of hanging out and her just, you're seeing that kid side of her, that enjoyment of being around another person, because she tries to have the interaction with Joel a couple times that we saw in the previous episode. It's just not there for Joel yet, even though it's starting she's starting to chip away at him. But I did enjoy her with Sam a lot.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Sam's no longer with us. So that means that now her interactions have to go back again with dealing with the real world and dealing with Joel.
She looked pretty serious at the end. Let's go.
She might have looked a little serious at the end, but
she's motivated to really see how she can help people, I think.
And I don't know if it's the actress, or it's the lines. It's not the lines, or it's the way that she's being told to be to deliver it. But I still just have, and it sucks because there's a comparison to be had there, which is my experience playing the video game and experiencing that Ellie version, and now having to it's an unfair comparison to the actress right now on the show.
Yeah.
Because I think that she was told to deliver it differently.
Okay.
And I don't blame her for that. I don't even think I blame the director for it. In my way, it's probably maybe blaming myself because it's hard for me to separate the versions right now.
Yeah.
It's getting easier, but having to wait a week to watch another episode and a week to watch another episode. And then what I'm doing is I'm torturing myself because every single time there's an episode, I go back and play the game from that part leading into the end of that episode. So I've played all the way up to where Sam and Henry die.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at right now in the game. So every single thing that I just saw her do that was tolerable for me, or that was, somewhat likable, enjoyable as far as her interactions with Sam, I just now witnessed that again with the version that I was already used to that I feel like I like better. So my Ellie meter maybe went up a smidge, but it's still not to the point where I think it needs to be absolute for sure for a season 2, which when we get into ultimate spoilers, then it's not there for me yet. So I think they would have to make some corrections. Like they would have to make
corrections.
Not corrections. That's a bad word to say. I think because of the choices that they've made through this show, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as changing some subplots where it's like instead of like we need guns, we gotta get the battery to get to my brother. Instead of like Tess dying by the militia people, Fedra, she dies by infected.
Yeah.
Instead of Sam and like creating a Kathleen, creating a Perry, like all those things that are not in the game.
Yeah.
They made those changes because it was better for TV and it was better for
the story
for ratings, stuff like blah, blah, blah. So, but the end result still kind of has to be the same, right?
Yeah.
We know it's going to be the same result for the game 1. For game 2, I think there's a way to have it still have the same end result, but to make a drastic change if Ellie is not how Ellie needs to be by season 2. If that makes any sense.
I got you.
Right now, if it's good for money, if it's good for business, and I think they'll make that. I think they will make that choice. I really do.
Okay. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm glad I made you. You decided to play the game and not me, because I want to watch the show.
I want to play
its own thing.
Let me see.
And not get clouded judgment by
I forgot to tell you how much I'm torturing myself. Not only am I playing that, I've actually wanted to play the game so bad, I've actually gone ahead and started playing part 2.
Oh, you can't even wait.
Because the gameplay is so good and the storytelling's so good.
It's a perfect game, man.
I know. I was like, I can't, because I can't go back and replay 1 after I played a certain section. Like, I want to keep playing this. So now I'm playing 2.
Well, for me,
Ultimate torture.
I thought this was her best episode, and I thought if in my meter, she took a big leap forward. I love the interaction in the beginning with Joel telling, dude, like, say it nicely kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that was good. I like
her interaction with Sam was really warming, and then the thing that really, like, throughout we've been questioning her psychometer, quote unquote, right? And when she witnesses Henry kill himself, like, Ellie, the character, and the actress did a great job in terms of not intrigued by it, because a psycho would have been like, oh, look at that. She was more like horrified and shocked.
Ooh, that brings up a good thing.
So that made her more human for me.
Right.
So I liked her more in this episode, and I liked her motivation at the end to kind of, the way I'm taking it is, she's focused to find a way for her to really help humanity.
Can I jump off that for a second?
Go ahead.
I know we're still rating her as far as like if we like her or not, which I kind of want to get into a points meter at some point at the end of this. But you did bring up a good point that she saw, Sam and Henry. She saw Henry kill Sam, and then she saw Sam kill himself. Or I'm sorry, Henry kill himself. Yeah. And so this is at least as far as we know, because we still don't know what happened when she got infected and stuff. Obviously, something tragic happened there. But this is the first time I think that we've seen her have a relationship with someone that turned and then saw that person get killed in front of her. 2 people, really, just that she knew that killed. Like, we had this psychometer that we were kind of thinking about of her, as far as like how when she saw Joel beating the crap out of the person, like she had to go look at it, like all those little things. I felt that was corrected a little bit from her experience when they arrived at Kansas City. When her experience of shooting like the human in the back and stuff, and the horror that she felt, it wasn't like this whole curiosity
behind the wall,
right? But there wasn't that curiosity of cutting somebody. It wasn't that curiosity of beating. There was like this genuine fear, this crying that kind of like opened up maybe the humanity that I didn't see in her for those violent moments. But now that she sees this tragic moment, does that bump her maybe in the next episode back into the whole little bit of, now that I've seen it, kind of, okay, now psycho, let's kill kind of stuff. Maybe.
But it's definitely...
Am I reaching? Is am I reaching for this?
There's no reaching. That's what this episode's for. It's speculation.
Let's sit on that. All right. So Ellie meter, if you had to give it 0 out of 10
For me right now,
where does Ellie sit for you?
somewhere between a 5 and a 6 now. Last week I would have said 3 and a 4. So I give her a big kudos for this
That's
episode.
why we do this podcast
Yeah.
together. I feel the same way. I don't.
Okay,
I mean, I think that she's around a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
She's in the D rating now for as
Yeah,
far as like
yeah,
in the 6. I think
exactly.
because she has her moments now where like I would want to hang out with that person. Like she's more like I don't know.
I don't know about hanging out, but okay.
She's more tolerable. I don't know.
Okay, tolerable. Yeah,
I don't know because
I see what you're trying to say. Yeah,
it's hard to say it without sounding like a total piece of shit.
it's all good. All right.
All right. So anything else you want to like?
No,
right.
I'm looking forward next.
So we're
week.
both at 6s.
Yeah, about
We're both
5
at
or
6s.
6, maybe a 5.5.
Overall episode, I think this is a 10.
A 10.
I think
To me,
10
it's
for
my
sure.
favorite episode of the series so far.
All the griping that we had, it was the speculations and all that stuff. I still think it had every single thing in this show. It had the drama, it had the action for sure. It had the special effects. It looked amazing. It had that love relationships that you saw. Like it wasn't a Frank and
Bill, like
a
romantic relationship.
It wasn't romantic, but
it was brother and sister and brother,
right.
sibling love.
It was the sibling love, and then you got to see that that whole tragedy thing happen. So it's not gonna. Like I said, it's not gonna be an award-winning episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, maybe. I mean,
I thought it was great.
The kid who played Sam. I know we talked about his name prior, but he did a phenomenal job. I could see him getting nominated for some stuff just for how good he delivered.
And definitely more roles. Lamar Johnson played Henry. It's Kevon Woodard. He did a great job as Sam.
Yeah.
And sometimes I know Coda won best movie last year for the Academy Awards, but sometimes you don't see enough deaf actors in things and playing roles, and it was nice to see that. So but next week's episode, Ken, Tommy's back. Can't wait for that. And actually, I haven't seen this actress, Retina Wesley. She was in True Blood. Do you ever watch True Blood?
I did. Man, talk about another show that ended very disappointingly.
I hated the ending of that, but let's leave that alone. Tara, she played Tara. I haven't seen her.
I liked her. Yeah, I really liked her.
I haven't seen her in anything, but so she's going to be in Kin.
That's another. Let's talk about another character.
People say she's an Arrow, but I don't watch Arrow, so I don't know.
Was she an Arrow?
I don't know.
She isn't. She was an Arrow.
Yeah, I don't watch that. I don't watch those WB.
First season of Arrow, it's very Dark Knight-ish.
Yeah, everybody
if you like Christopher Nolan, Dark Knight, like it was pretty good. But then it got a little. It's a different show.
Anyway,
it got WB. It wasn't for.
But
it wasn't,
she's gonna play a character in that. So
I like her.
Definitely looking forward to that. So
talk about
Sunday, Ken.
Hey, let me tell you, that was another character that had a very low meter liking for me in the beginning of that show that I grew to really.
Tara?
Yeah.
Everybody didn't like her.
I really liked her towards the end, though.
Yeah, I can say her last before her spoiler alert, her untimely demise. She was solid.
She died?
Yeah.
Did she?
Yeah.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
I'm picturing her at the end of the table, like.
No,
I'll take your word for it.
I think she was dead I really the season before.
I really fell off the last season.
I want to say she died like maybe even the season before. Like I don't even think she made it to the last season.
Maybe not. She's probably like, this show's getting a little ridiculous. I need to jump ship here.
Now you have me looking like I thought. She was, finished.
While Max is looking, just a reminder, we have another show called Still Holds Up. We just did. The prequel trilogy for Star Wars. It was a 2-parter, so check those out if anyone's a Star Wars nerd. I really think there's a lot of content in there that you're going to like. We're going to be hitting up the Star Wars.
Don't have to be a nerd to enjoy it, bro.
I mean, it gets pretty nerdy. You kind of have to. Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, if you want to become a nerd, if you're looking to be in the nerd world, I enjoyed that episode. That was probably one of my most fun Still Holds Up episodes. Was that 2-parter that we did. We're jumping more into the Star Wars world. We're going to be hitting up some Mandalorian shows. And then we have another show we're creating. I don't want to talk about it just yet, but I'm really excited about it. I think Max is as well. It's going to involve a lot of other people. It should be a lot of fun. And we hopefully will be sharing that with you maybe next week, as far as once we have the actual details for it. But it should be good. And then while Max is still looking up if Tara was in the show the last season.
I think her last appearance was, I don't know.
She probably has a flashback. If she died, she has a flashback. Yeah.
She did die, and now I remember I think there was a flashback.
Thanks to our Patreon producer, Knight Rider 169. Thanks for everyone who also messaged us and let us know what we got wrong, what we also...
It's not wrong, just misremembered, remember?
Misremembered, what you caught that we didn't catch. We enjoy that kind of stuff. If you have anything else in future episodes that you want to share with us, don't forget to message us at our Twitter handle or our Patreon page, which is patreon.com / Rot Your Brain Media. I know, I got it. Yeah.
And Tara died season 1, season 7, episode 1. So right in the season premiere, and I remember it now. Yes.
Okay.
It was a while ago. 2014, bro.
This is good.
It's a different world.
This is good. All right. Thank you very much. Yes, we will catch you next time.
We out.
Music composed by Kyle Torme. Additional bed music composed by Jason Zaffrey. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Last of Us, a Rot Your Brain podcast. Subscribe to The Last of Us podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Last of Us. Follow us on Twitter at rot_yourbrain and support Rot Your Brain Media and its podcast by being a part of this exciting new and growing community. Visit patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.